We're about to have a great show. Great show is
We
ahead.
do.
Indeed.
Yes.
To quote Phil Collins, I can feel it. Something's in the air today. And it feels like spring. I mean, it's just really great, nice weather.
Yep, and you know what spring means, right? Daylight savings
I
time
was
this
gonna say
weekend.
allergies.
Oh, yeah, allergies too, right. Well, this is nothing to sneeze at. You know, health experts want to stop daylight savings time, and you know, that's happening this weekend. Research shows the annual shift disrupts sleep, leads to a higher immediate risk of heart attacks and strokes.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Okay, I don't doubt the science with respect to that. Oh, here I am over here. I don't doubt the science with respect to that, but you know, look, I look forward to it because you get more time and more daylight in the day. So I'm not one of those who argues about
Well, I remember as a kid, I always loved when that happened because you
extra
get to play
playtime.
outside.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Outside.
Yes.
Well, you know, 71, let me see, let me do my math. 31 into, okay. 59% of people would like
Three
it
goes
to
into
stay.
9 3 times. Doing your gazentas over
I'm
there?
doing my gazenta.
You can
Goes,
differ.
they think that it should stay one way or the other all year long. They're tired of the changing twice a year. So
It's kind of a nice refresher, though.
Yeah.
Nice, every once in a while, a little
I
jolt in the
don't
system.
mind it. I like having it lighter, longer.
Kids get more daylight to play.
Kids get more,
So-
yes,
Right.
kids get more daylight to
They
play
do.
with. And speaking of more daylight, so speaking of what fuels your imagination, right? Cincinnati, whether you know it or not, actually has a very deep toy history.
Oh, yeah.
And yes,
We
and
do.
much of that is thanks to Kenner toys. But there is actually one man who is from this area, and if you're a Star Wars fan, this is for you, who has a big impact on childhood play.
Wow.
And
Did he create Play-Doh?
He did not.
Oh.
He did not.
Okay.
He has a hand in Star Wars.
Oh,
but
okay.
Meet Kim Simmons.
My name is Kim David McNeil Simmons. I'm known as the man who shot Luke Skywalker.
For the forces that be, we all know that's not how Luke Skywalker dies. What Kim is actually referring to is the power of the force behind his camera.
Still works. I did the packaging photography for Star Wars when it was here in Cincinnati, when Kenner was here.
Star Wars figures. R2-D2.
Kenner Toys was childhood to so many. The Cincinnati-based company produced hundreds of popular toys for decades, giving Kim the opportunity to work on big brands such as Nerf, Beetlejuice, the Cindy doll, and of course, Star Wars. So from 1981 to 2001, Kim's downtown studio off 6th Street was where he visualized, produced, and shot all that work. Now keep in mind, this was a time before digital, so Kim would create the shot in his head, then build a set from scratch, with every toy and figurine presenting a unique challenge.
I just figured it out. Well, I gotta make mountains. I'm not gonna use a backdrop. I have to create it. In fact, that's how I did Rancor. As I started putting my head together on this, it's got, okay, this is how I'm gonna do it. So what I ended up doing is I got a box about this big, it was about 2.5 feet, and I started spackling the heck out of the box. And then once I got all the spackling done, I just took spray cans of blues and grays and whatever, and I just started spraying the heck out of it. A little bit black here, a little red, you know, whatever I had out. I said, yeah, I like that.
Kim shot toys for Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Episode 1 Phantom Menace, and the toy line Power of the Force. Each designed to fire the imagination of girls and boys everywhere, fueling the force of play.
I was teaching kids how to play, what to play, how to use mind, use imagination. You'd go out there right away, you'd open up a box in the middle of winter, right after Christmas, or Christmas Day, you were out there with a Hoth toy in the snow trying to play and make Hoth World. Or you'd wait till summertime and all of a sudden you're doing your thing out there in indoor, whatever. That's what you were doing. You were thinking, you were creating. You didn't know it, but we taught you how to play at the same time as be creative.
Luke's force is strong, but we've got him now. Oh, no, you don't.
You've got to let kids play. Teach them how to play. You don't learn to play by, and I know this is a digital world, and I was the first, literally the first, as I've been told, the first digital photographer to go commercial But as we got more and more digital, we lost the play. When you're using a scene from the movie, that's nice, but where's the creativity for the kid you're selling the toy to? You know, you have to give them something. You have to let them learn. And believe it or not, those toys helped you guys get to where you are.
Wow. Wow, what a super piece.
Yeah, great
I
job.
really like that. I'm actually kind of jealous because I wish I was that good at shooting stuff.
Oh.
But anyway,
Well, Kim Simmons
Enough
is
about me.
also just as good at shooting. It was one of those moments going into the shoot as we're interviewing him. I'm like, oh my gosh, this piece really needs to be amazing because he is also just as amazing at working with the camera.
Yeah.
But his background and his story is so cool, and I felt like I couldn't fully tell it all because while he was doing everything for Kenner, so yes, Star Wars was one of them, but as I said before, he was working on other toys, but he was also doing P&G, he was doing
Kroger.
stuff for Kroger,
Yeah.
so him and his wife, Pat, she is kind of his sidekick. She didn't talk on camera, but she was there and absolutely incredible, and they've really made it work together. And he had a master's in photography, and they've known each other for a long time, and so they kind of built a career together. But he's always been based in Cincinnati, and so I think that's really, really a cool feature and something to think about, that we have such a strong toy history.
We do.
And if you go down Race Street, when you see the mural, ding, 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 that's what it's all about, are the Kenner toys.
teaching kids to play.
Is he still working?
He, not really, he's more retired, but every
Okay.
once in a while he'll have fun. So
Right.
teach,
Yep,
yes.
I love
Power
that
of
too.
the
like,
mind.
teaching kids to play, and we
Put
don't have
down
enough of
fun.
that today. I love it.
Lots of places here in our community have their names on water towers, but usually we barely pay attention to it. Not so Florence, Kentucky. Its water tower is such a landmark, it has its own bobblehead. Yep, that's right. But there is so much more of interest in Florence, especially or rather easily found, because it's just around the block.
Crossroads, the church, is a looming presence over this bustling intersection on Mall Road in Florence. But beyond the church itself, Florence is a crossroad in its own right. Stand at the corner of Turfway and Houston Roads, and it is quickly apparent that Florence is indeed an intersection where four-wheeled transportation, four-legged entertainment at the horse park, and sometimes four-engine jets full of passengers and cargo rumbling out of the airport all inject Florence with a kind of adrenaline. Crossroads is what Florence was originally called in the early 1800s because it was the intersection of several roads from Burlington and Union. Then it became known as Maddentown for Thomas Madden, a Covington lawyer with a farm nearby. Later, it was named Connorsville. Then, finally, Florence, possibly for the city of the same name in Italy. Everybody knows Florence for its legendary and colorful Florence Yawl Water Tower near the mall. That branding now extends to the community's Frontier League baseball team, the Florence Yawls, renamed once local owners took over. Florence has become a go-go modern community with a bustling economy, an urban feel, and 32,000 residents all packed into just over 10 square miles. One sign of the community's forward-looking growth, its new government center on Ewing Boulevard. One-stop shopping for citizens in need of government services. And when it comes to consumer shopping, the mall has created its own economic ecosystem lining Mall Road and adjoining parts of Burlington Pike and Highway 42 with a shoppers and eaters horn of plenty. Of course, so busy a community must be fed, and food in Florence, well, no problem. Again, Florence is a crossroad of cuisines. Got a hankering for a good old burger? How about Mad Mike's Burgers and Fries on Dixie Highway? Say something saucy. Why not check out Bourbon House and Pizzeria on Oakwood Drive? Asian, you ask? Plenty of options. Mai Tai for Thai cuisine, or Chinese at Cathay Kitchen on Connector Drive. And something with a little south of the border flair. Plenty of options for that, among them El Nopal on Highway 42. When you're ready to work off all those calories, how about a nice dip in the pool at the Florence Family Aquatic Center? Something more sedate, you ask? Something closer to nature? What could be more soothing than enjoying the Florence Nature Park? All that eating and exercising comes at a price, and Florence is well situated when it comes to places to make a living. Robert Bosch, Celanese, the Boone County Schools, Duro Bag, and those in Florence proper, such as Southern Air and Kona Ice. It's not all work, play, and eat. Florence is a bedroom community dotted with neighborhoods that range from the cozy to the elaborate. The city has nurtured the talents of Sean Alexander, NFL star, and the late country music singer and hee-haw star Kenny Price. So if you come here and explore life at this crossroad, you'll see firsthand the exuberant energy that abounds in Florence, y'all, just around the block.
Nice job, Clyde. Thank you. Well, coming up here on Cincy Lifestyle, we dive into another Cincinnati curiosity. This time, we talk about the dreaded cholera epidemics that hit the tri-state and how one man was way ahead of his time when it came to preventing this disease. Stay with us. All right, we are all on the edge of our seats these days because of the COVID-19, the coronavirus as we know it. But 4 times in the past, another disease had Cincinnati directly in its sights, and it killed thousands. Well, cholera, where it came from and what finally stopped it, is just another one of those Cincinnati curiosities.
Although we still remember the devastating Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, historically the real killer in Cincinnati was cholera. Cholera meant death, horrible death. In 1849, that was all anybody knew. Cholera arrived with warm weather, collected thousands of lives, and faded away as the cool breezes of autumn flowed through the Ohio Valley. Outbreaks of cholera in 1832, 1849, 1866, and 1873 in Cincinnati were especially fatal. The 1849 outbreak alone took more than 4,000 lives at a time when the entire city population was 115,000. A local geologist named John Lee drew a map of the deaths on Sycamore Hill, counting 44 deaths among 19 households on that single street. Cholera killed quickly. No one knew how it originated. No one knew how to prevent it or treat it or cure it. Daniel Drake, Cincinnati's preeminent physician at the time, threw up his hands declaring, "All who go about in the damp air after the bowel complaint has set in will get cramps and spasms and die. I again say, they will die." Theories abounded. Smoky air, fungi, filthy streets, uncooked fruits and vegetables, sour wine, and humid weather were all blamed as either direct causes or excitements to illness. Some people blamed the immigrant German or Irish communities for spreading this horrific disease. Geologist John Lee believed that wells drawing water from limestone bedrock resulted in more fatal cases than water collected from rain barrels or water drawn from the sandy Ohio River. It would be years before Louis Pasteur proved that bacteria caused cholera and other diseases. In all of Cincinnati, only one person proposed a caution solution that actually prevented infection, and of course, everyone in 1849 ignored him. Henry Boyd was a successful African-American furniture manufacturer. He presented his theory to the editor of the Cincinnati Gazette, who gave Boyd's theory his endorsement. Henry Boyd's suggestion was very simple. He asked Cincinnatians to boil their water before they drank it. No one knows how Mr. Boyd, years before Louis Pasteur, knew this would purify the water. Henry Boyd's family followed his advice and survived. But most Cincinnatians ignored Henry Boyd, and 4% of the citizens died, including the infant son of Harriet Beecher Stowe. The doctors of Cincinnati, well, they spent the epidemic accusing one another of malpractice and outright chicanery. Only the introduction of adequate sewage and filtered water years later reduced this grim harvest of death.
Wow, that's a real downer. And right now, I want to welcome Greg Hand, the man behind all these Cincinnati curiosities. Greg,
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, how did cholera compare with the Spanish flu?
Oh, you know, so there's a lot of discussion now about this COVID-19, aka the coronavirus, and that seems to be following the pattern of the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu, the 1918, 1919, about 3% of the people who got the disease died. And it looks like COVID-19 is 3.5, something like that, % of the people who got it. Cholera was 3 to 4% of the entire population. 10 to 12% of the people who got cholera just died. And a lot of this was because they had nothing to combat the disease. Once you got the disease, it was a death sentence, just like Daniel Drake said.
Well, they were talking about boiling water as a precaution. Why wasn't water safe, city drinking water safe in the first place?
Oh my goodness, we were pulling water unfiltered right out of the Ohio River. And there were doctors at the time who would go in front of city council and testify, yes, the intake for our water is a couple hundred feet downstream from the sewage outlet, but that amount of turbulent water cleans things up. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
they
big mistake.
Yes, germs were unknown back then. You know, diseases like malaria, it's an Italian word, it means bad air. And they thought that's what caused disease. Bad air, smelly things caused disease. And so if the water didn't smell, it couldn't have germs.
Wow, so did doctors do anything to help or try to treat it?
Back then, bleeding, pills that were poisoning their patients with mercury. One of the biggest cures promoted, which didn't do anything, was sarsaparilla. And so,
tasted good, but
so you had a nice drink, but you died that evening.
Right. Well, if people want to read more about your Cincinnati Curiosities, which are always excellent, where should they go?
Just Google Cincinnati Curiosities and you'll find the blog.
All right. Greg, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Greg. Thank you, sir. You know, our nation is in the midst of a growing mental illness epidemic with such conditions as suicide, depression, bipolar disorders, addictions, PTSD, and ADHD. A lot of alphabets there. All of those are skyrocketing right now. Well, a new book called The End of Mental Illness examines why standard treatments and success rates have barely changed in the last 7 decades, believe it or not. And joining us now today to talk more about this is the author of the book, Dr. Daniel Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Amen, for joining us. So we talk about the mental illness tag, and you say that it's not only inaccurate, but it is harmful.
It shames people, it stigmatizes people. Nobody really wants to see a psychiatrist. No one wants to be labeled as defective or abnormal, but everyone wants a better brain. So what if mental health was really brain health? And that one idea, that one shift changes everything. When we get our brains right, our minds tend to follow.
So your book is entitled End Mental Illness, and essentially what you're calling for is reframing the discussion from mental illness. How does that really help people?
People begin to see their problems as medical and not moral. It decreases shame and guilt. It increases compliance because people want better brains. I'm in a new docuseries with Justin Bieber on YouTube, and he documented the last couple of years where he highlighted his mental health issues. And I've been his doctor, and he came to my office one day and he said, you know, my brain can have problems like my heart can have problems. If you told me I had heart disease, I'd do everything you said. He said, now I'm going to start doing everything you say. And then he got dramatically better. So rather than, oh, you're depressed, or oh, you have PTSD or ADHD, it's, no, I want my brain to be healthy, and then my mind can be healthy. So it completely changes how we diagnose and treat people, but also how we motivate people to do the right things for their brain.
Just a little bit of time left, but in that time, tell us how your book challenges the status quo for treatment.
Well, most people are diagnosed based on symptoms. You tell your doctor, well, I have 5 of these 8 symptoms for depression, and then I'll put you on an antidepressant. We think that's insane. That depression is a symptom with many different causes. Understand the 11 major risk factors that steal your mind, and then when you treat it like the brain, like it's a physical organ, you're so much more likely to get better faster.
Dr. Amen, right quick, where can people get a copy of your book, The End of Mental Illness?
Thank you so much for asking. At Amazon or barnesandnoble.com, anywhere great books are sold. And they can learn more about our work at amenclinics.com. So Amen, like the last word in a prayer, clinics.com.
All right, Dr. Amen, thank you so much for being with us. Have a nice day. And we'll be right back.
You.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. That's Cincy Lifestyle for Thursday, March 5th.
And remember, we love hearing from you. So reach out to us, email, Twitter, Facebook. We always want to hear from you. Give us your opinion about daylight savings time. Yeah, we want to hear about it.
Yes, we do. Go ahead, Mona.
Oh, well, I'll just say, right, as we go out, make it a great day.
Thanks for watching our video. If you liked what you saw, hit that subscribe button. You can also check out full episodes of the show you've never seen before or watch your favorites again and again. And as always, make it a great day.